Hello, hello. Uh, Welcome to Financial Friday. It is very late, and it is possible this won't even come out on Friday. Going to see if I can time it. But even if it doesn't, that's fine because I'm actually using this as an opportunity to bridge into Sunday, kind of do an in-between episode talking about money and exercise, not specifically running, although I guess, inspiration kind of came from that. And the focus here is on when you go into like a new hobby or activity. And for me, this is different sports. Over the years, my favorite sport growing up as a kid was playing basketball. I fell in love with watching Michael Jordan and the Bulls. So that was my first sport. And then later on, my sport in middle school got to be badminton, which carried through high school, at which point I picked up cross country running and, uh, disc golf, I guess, but also ultimate frisbee, rock climbing, etc. And I guess the thing is, when you get yourself into a lot of hobbies or activities that are kind of all within the same realm, you start to realize that even though they're fairly different, right, in terms of, the equipment required, the rules, the you know, abilities required to excel at them, the pacing and the vibe of them. Like for me, basketball is beautiful, but also, kind of physical. Badminton is just all about that like speed and like there's a beauty to you know, how you can use that speed in creative ways. Rock climbing is this cool thing about strength, commitment, flexibility, creative thinking. Um, Anyways, they all run at their own speed. And the way what I'm going to tie into this is going to relate to money. Um, is that they all require, at least most of the sports that I do, require some sort of like foot on ground contact, which sounds pretty obvious. Most sports are like that, right? Even ones I don't play, volleyball, soccer, right? Tennis. I'm going to ignore the sports that like polo or swimming for a moment here, where you're not really running. But the point is that when you realize there's something fundamental to a lot of your activities, and in this case, it is foot on ground contact, um, you realize it's very important to invest in these things. So I know it's kind of a random topic, or at least it feels like a random topic to me to bring up now, but invest in your shoes. And I'm not going to say invest money necessarily into your shoes. I'm not going to say go out and buy the most expensive shoe there is. But when your feet and your legs are taking so much impact, and there's so much risk to them, that's what you really want to protect. Whether it's cramps in your calves or thighs, twisting your ankles, bruising the balls of your feet, anything, shin splints. These are just like things that have happened to me. There are a lot more injuries. Like you can have issues with your knees, your hips. This all stems from the way you strike the ground, to your shoes, how well they fit, how high or low they are, stuff like that. Anyways, I know it's obvious, but invest in your shoes. Take the time when you start off with any sort of sport in this scenario to really look into what shoes work for you. And it's generally going to translate, because you're the one who knows, how your feet respond. I got a friend with issues with arches, so he's always having to look for custom shoes. He's got his own thing. I've been a lot more flexible with the kind of shoes I can get away with. But even for people who are, a bit more lenient on what they can fit, and they still got to know, narrow or wide. Are they generally better with a loose or tight fit? And of course, that changes with different sports, right? Like rock climbing. When you're rock climbing, a lot of the power and balance is generated through your feet. And a lot of times you can't see where you're climbing, or at least where your feet are touching. You can't see in great detail. And so what you have to do is you have to feel with your feet all the way down to your toes. And so your feet have to be real tight. And they say snug, but snug kind of evokes a comfortable, warm feeling, and it's not that. I can guarantee you. I'm not a very good climber, so maybe, my feet are just weak, but seeing it how beat up, even professional climbers' feet get, I think it's a universal thing that yeah, it's not snug, it's tight, it's precise. You want that sensitivity, that tactile feedback. So, anyways, climbing shoes would be a tighter fit. If you are running, maybe not so much. Hiking, again, maybe even looser, actually, especially in the toe area. So yeah, look for shoes that fit the activity that you're doing. But also just try it out. Sometimes you'll read up on these shoes that are expensive, supposedly amazing. They've got all these cool features. Everyone's going for them, and you try it out, and it doesn't vibe. It doesn't seem to work for you. Do you trust yourself or do you trust what everyone else is saying? Well, I mean, on the one hand, right, a lot of times the mainstream is correct on certain things. So, for example, with stocks, just because you think a company is worth very little or a lot, if everyone else thinks otherwise, that's not a battle you're going to win. But when it comes to something like your body, no one else knows your body as well as you do. Hopefully, anyways, right? If someone else knows better than you do, well, you haven't been paying attention enough. Um, anyways, the point is, oh, I lost track. Man, oh man, have I lost track? I'm actually going to leave this in. No, you know what? Usually when I fail at a recording, I just cut it and I start over, but I'm going to leave this in here. Screw it. Uh, you know, let my failures be on the record. Anyways, back to what I was saying. When you're choosing, your shoes, you got to listen to how you feel. And I guess this isn't true with just shoes. Shoes just happen to be the most visceral, most core piece of equipment that I can think of. But kind of veering off a little bit, when you watch Harry Potter try out wands for the first time, they didn't work out, right? They no, I don't think any of them backfired necessarily, but none of them fired off the way he wanted them to. Until, of course, he got to the perfect one for him, which had a little bit of a twist to it as to how it was made. Don't want to spoil it for anyone who has never read Harry Potter yet. I know the books have been out for decades. Still not going to spoil it. This is generally hoping to be a spoiler-free channel and podcast. Anyways, I digress, as usual. The point is, you will know what feels right for you. Of course, in the beginning, things might just feel good, and you're going to realize that they aren't going to work out that well. So this is what I mean when I say don't commit too much money, right? Obviously, don't go just for the best equipment because everyone says it's the best or it works the best for the top professionals. Generally speaking, you're not going to be a top professional. So if they say the shoe is, getting them 2% more efficiency, and that's, the cincher in their race, what wins them the race, that couple seconds or the millisecond. I mean, unless that's going to do it for you, that's going to be a game changer. You're a professional. It's probably not worth it, right? Just straight off the bat. If you're new or even just like a novice, I don't think that's worth it. If you have money to burn, sure, why the hell not? Um, but anyways, the other thing is just because it's good for them doesn't mean it's good for you. So again, kind of veering away from the shoe concepts for a moment. But I play badminton, and in racket sports, one of the there are two, I think, aspects of rackets that kind of evoke this sort of culture battle. One is how stiff the shaft is, right? It can either be flexible, medium, stiff, whatever. And then, of course, where the balance of it is. So, for example, if you are holding a racket, right? So the part where you're holding it is a handle, it extends shaft and then to the head. Where is the weight balance, right? Is more of the weight in the head? Is more of the weight in between or closer to where you're holding it? So if it's closer to the head, that's called head heavy. If it's closer to your handle, it's head light. And I've tried some really, really amazing expensive rackets, used, sworn by the top professionals in the world, and it didn't work for me. And I tried them. I didn't just like hold it. I really tried to make it work. Try to channel it based on the way it hit and responded, the way it balanced, and it just never, you know, we never got in sync, and I didn't play well. But going back to shoes, so something like, for example, a lot of cushion might feel really good at first, but later on you might realize that it's too much cushion, you're carrying too much weight. It might push your feet up too high, which is causing ankle sprains. So again, don't commit the money necessarily to your shoes. Commit the time first to try them out, right? Get them used. Try out your friends. Try them out at the store until you find one that really works for you. And again, even like trying at the store isn't going to fully replicate the situations you're going to run into. You're not going to encounter mud and dirt and actual intense running and turns at the store. I mean, you could if you're kind of a jerk, probably would not wear out shoes at the store, right? Kind of a dick move. But so if you like it, try to find something that's not too expensive, right? If within your budget, whatever that might be, try aiming for something that's mid-low budget first if you don't know what you're doing. If you do know what you're doing, I mean, don't even listen to this podcast, right? Don't watch this channel. So find something that works in the low to mid range, run with that, um, and see how it goes. Give it a real shot for a while, and if it works, right, keep it. Later on, if you have more money and you're like, okay, well, this is kind of okay, but maybe I want to try something else. Sure, try it then. But give the low to mid ones a shot first. And although caveat, of course, if it's causing injuries, if it's hurting, you give it up. Don't let yourself fall into the sunk cost fallacy, right? You can always sell, donate. Some stores even have a return policy that might be forgiving. But just because you bought the shoe, if it's hurting you, right? It's bruising and ankle twisting and just straining your foot. Give it up, right? Put in the time. Anyways, all I want to say is be mindful about be mindful about the shoes that you're buying. The shoe, for example, I harp on this, I rant about this shoe a lot, or I guess I rave about it because it's a good thing. Saucony Versafoam Cohesion 12s. They're not a new shoe. They're extremely cheap. Well, I can't say extremely, but they're pretty cheap. They're like 40, $50. I think 60 max. And they have served me super well in the last few years. I've bought 3 pairs of them in the last year and a half, which for me is a lot. I try not to buy shoes too frequently because I'm buying other shoes. They're not the only shoes I'm buying, but they are the shoes that I'm putting the most miles into. First pair, 1,000 miles last year. Second pair, I've put in, I think, 500 plus already this year. Unfortunately, they did start to show signs of wear and tear a little earlier than the other pair, which didn't really kind of have any give until about 800. But I bought a third pair because another, they're not new, they're not being made anymore, so it's going to get harder and harder to find them over time. But this was over the course of, man, I really should have filmed this, and I'll probably re-upload or show this in a different video. But I have sorry, gotta face the microphone, otherwise the audio won't pick up. I'm looking at my shoes. This is not a video, but if I look at my shoes, I'm not talking to the mic. But I have a box full of shoes that I'm trying to wear out. They're all like these shoes that were fine and they're usable, but they aren't great. They don't work well for, long distances or high intensity. They're just usable. And I would like to use them up. I've already put enough miles in them that they're not really worthy of being sold or donated. But it took me, they're also a good reminder of how many shoes I've tried that didn't work out for me. And I really wanted a lot of them to work out. Some of them were super cheap. Found some of them at like consignment stores. I think at least one pair was used. And then, of course, there are my Adidas Adizero 3s, I think. And, they're a well touted shoe. I even have two pairs of them in different sizes. And they aren't bad, but I just can't run with them long distance. They're, I guess for me, anyways, a race shoe. Don't know if I'm using them correctly. Um, yeah, so again, I have about like half a dozen shoes just, that I have that just didn't work out for me. And of course, many shoes over the rest of the years that I've ran in that were okay, fine, aren't perfect. And it's possible I'll find a better shoe. But, for a lot of these, I just had to give up on them somewhat earlier than I would have liked until I finally found, for training anyways, the Sauconys. And I guess I do also have some racing shoes. Talk about them later. Anyways, if you've been listening, thanks for listening to me ramble, rant, and rave about shoes and putting money into them. Anyways, don't go out there and blasting your wallet with money you're spending on shoes or anything in general, actually. But yeah, take care of your feet, man. Or a woman or a person or thing. You got to protect your ankles, your legs. Yeah, the effects are endless. Watch where you step. Anyways, I don't think I'm going to have a run video up for Sunday, unfortunately. Or if I do, it'll be up late, going on a trip tomorrow. And so I'll be back Sunday. All right. Thanks for listening.